Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on this live broadcast. I'm Nalmas Claim as usual, taking you this lesson in March of 2026, Mature Entry Paper 1. You are welcome on board. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for applying, and thank you for paying. Otherwise, maybe I wouldn't be with the data today. But I don't see you, ladies and gentlemen. Come on board. Come on board. Come on board. I want to talk to people when I see them. This is a lecture where I can see people. Oh, I want to see you. Where are you? Ladies and gentlemen, again. Ladies and gentlemen, again. I saw 3 people. Come on board. I'm Nalmas Kelemi, broadcasting from Royal Institute, the Universal Bursary Scheme Project, and we are discussing Mature Entry Paper 1, General Knowledge. Please come on board. Send this link to other people. Send this link to other people. I'm going to discuss for you, or we are going to discuss general knowledge, colonial Uganda, pre-colonial, colonial Uganda, how Uganda was colonized, and what is the meaning of the word colonial or colonized. To colonize is to control or to rule over somebody. You change the social, the economic, the administrative structure of somebody or a certain family or a certain group of people. The way they think, the way they do their activities, even the way they worship their God. Hey, how everything was changed. By the end of this lesson, we might be with about 3 episodes. You will tell us whether you got independence or no, or a fractional independence. Yes. So, colonial Uganda. Uganda was not there before the colonials or before the British came to visit us. Let me say, before they colonized us, we didn't have any Uganda. We had Buganda, Bunyoro, Busoga, what? And different chiefdoms, Ankole, Toro, and different chiefdoms. Now, how did the British come to Uganda? Before, we didn't have the British. The foreigners who came to Africa for sale, because the Baganda and the Banyoro and the Basoga were trading in between them apart from war. Somebody gives you a narrative, especially from Western cultures, that we were here fighting each other throughout. No. Buganda and Bunyoro were not permanent enemies that they could not trade to or visit each other. Some of them could even intermarry. There was a market still there in Chisalis in the Bunyoro here where they used to sell salt. The Baganda could travel on foot, moreover. You wonder how people were so healthy to come and buy salt in Bunyoro and go back. So there was, in Africa, let me say in Uganda, which was not yet by then, people used to move from place to place. So the first foreigners with a white skin to visit Uganda or for say East Africa were the Arabs, people coming from Arabian countries. So they visited the coast of East Africa. And remember, Uganda is a landlocked country. We don't touch Indian Ocean. And these people were coming or using canoes. And you remember there were no good roads, and the Uganda road had not yet been constructed, So most of them were ending at the coast of East Africa. From the coast is where the traders could come and trade up to Buganda, Bunyoro, the present day Uganda. So that's how they brought their languages, Arabia, Swahili, and whatever, to the current Uganda. So before then, some of these times, they are not dated yet, but we are going to begin with the year of 498. I know some people say, I know those things. If you know, you need to listen and organize your brains together. Even me, I did this history, even in primary and O level. But now we need it, even in A level. We need to know what is going to be said, what they have told us they are going to say, and how to answer the questions. So, endure with me. I give you the background of what I can afford. Then we shall look at the past paper. We see the question is they ask on this topic. Paper 1, general knowledge. and in general the topic of pre-colonial Uganda or colonial Uganda. Hello? Yeah. Actually, let me say we are in colonial Uganda, colonization of Uganda. Or the Uganda in quotes. Yeah. So in 498, we got a British, somebody from Britain is called a British, called Vasco da Gama. This one was an explorer who was moving around looking for India, where they wanted to sell their goods. Basically, they are looking for market and raw materials. So he was the first person to move around Africa and come to East Africa. So what were the goods those were trading in by then? Ivory, whatever, spices, and slaves. So the Arabs already come, and remember these traders came with their religion, because everybody was struggling to see that they were struggling for market. They are fighting for customers, let me say, though they don't want to admit that. So many people had been converted to Islam, especially in Uganda. So many of them had already been converted to Islam before the British came. You remember, even King Mwanga was a Muslim at first. When the Catholic missionaries came and preached to him, he became a Catholic. When those ones of the Church of England came and preached to him, he became the Church of Uganda, and later he was completely confused and decided to abandon everything. That also led to the martyrdom of our famous Ugandan martyrs. That is the period we are discussing now. So the British wanted to expand their market for their goods, and they were majorly looking for market and raw materials. So at first, they didn't know that there was a country called Uganda. By this time, we are in 498. They didn't know. The British didn't know that it's even Africa. It was Vasco da Gama who discovered there are also people with a black skin, and they're not monkeys. They are human beings. Then he went and told his friends in Britain. So from 498, we see the British coming back in 425. And this one, sorry, not even the British. After Vasco da Gama, we see the Portuguese, people from Portugal, coming in 525. How many years are those? About 27 years. The Portuguese came to the Indian Ocean for trade. They didn't so much come to Uganda. Most of them ended at the coast. They were fearing the forests, the thick forest, to come to Uganda. Most of them ended at the coast to trade. So I wanted to dig down the foundation of how these British people came. But even if the Portuguese ended at the coast, they gave confidence to the British. Maybe they met somewhere there. Remember, there were no phones by then. Then they gave them confidence and enthusiasm, or let me say, curiosity, to find out more about the black race or the black people. So in 1861, the British came to Uganda. That is 1861. And the first British people to come to Uganda, one was John Hannington Speke and James Grant. These ones came looking for the source of River Nile. Not because for us we didn't know where it was, but they came to see the source of River Nile. Or because they had different maps, whether vague or what, because they had heard about the East African coast, they had heard River Nile from Egypt, so they wanted to know where is it found. And so many people from Europe had moved downwards from Egypt to come to find out the source of River Nile, but they are not reaching Uganda. So these Speke and James Grant decided to come from down. Maybe they meet in the middle. Fortunately enough, when they reached Uganda, the current day Ginger, they met the source of River Nile. They named our lake Lake Victoria, as if for us we don't have our names. Can you go to Europe and you name them? You name their lakes there. That is part of colonization. I know some people are saying, you know what, this is too much. You just go here where Lugard becomes the what? The governor. No, they have already begun to colonize us. Coming to name our own lake, Victoria, naming our river, River Nile, the colonization has begun. So even the Indians or Arabs also colonized us, but if I can put it in percentages, could be like 0.2%. The British came when they are determined. Hello? So other people from Speak, Huntington Speak and James Grant, we receive other people from Britain. 1888, we received Samuel Baker, Sir Samuel Baker, Henry Morton Stanley, and Frederick Lugard. Frederick Lugard came here in 1890. Morton Stanley and Samuel Baker came in Uganda in 1863. Then they went back to the British and told them every story about the Pearl of Africa. They are telling us, because we were not there, that the King of Uganda, Mutesa I, wrote a letter to the Queen of England to send for us missionaries. Let us believe it for the purpose of passing the exams. But when I look at that statement, it has a lot of loopholes. Because I doubt whether the King of Uganda knew how to write English. Even that letter is there in England, I hear. The King of Uganda, I don't think he knew how to write. And if he knew how to write English, moreover, and how did he know that he's living in the darkness, the missionaries will come and bring light? What did he know about light? Maybe they convinced him. So let us move forward. The missionaries went back in 1890. So the missionaries were sent in the 1890s. It was after the missionaries began to preach the gospel that we get the Uganda Matters. You know? Uganda Matters when actually Uganda matters. Hello? Any question? Any comment? But people are not seeing you here. You see only 3 people. I don't know what has happened. So Uganda was declared a British protectorate in 1894. It is very important to quote these years. If you can write, you write. If you can't write, make sure you buy these manuals such that you get to understand this. Because they are going to ask you these important stages. So Uganda, the part of Africa was very organized, especially the Kingdom of Uganda. The structure, the management structure, the Katikiro, those chiefs, they are hereditary chiefs who are ruling Uganda. And then there was also the administrative structure, the courts of law, the constitution of Uganda. So the British admired the structure of Uganda. The way the roads in Uganda, the roads were so clean, the way the roads were organized, the way their culture centers were organized, places of worship, the structure from Mayumba Kumi. Do you know Mayumba Kumi? Omutongole, somebody who was leading the 10 houses in the village to reporting to the king or the Katikiro, the outside king is the Katikiro, the prime minister. So that's why Uganda was declared a protectorate and not a colony. Because the British had to utilize that strong management structure to rule Uganda. However, we shall look at the advantages and disadvantages, or the merits and merits, or the good, the activities of the colonists, what they introduced before they even colonized us. Before they declared Uganda protectorate, they had to prepare the laborers by taking Ugandan building schools to train us in speaking English, which we are speaking up to now, and somebody says we got the independence. Why don't you speak your language? If I begin to speak my language here, you people will jump out and even beat me. Why? You are still a colonial person. So they built schools and developed curriculum. The curriculum we are using up to now was developed by the British for the purpose of colonizing us. You people, let us discuss this. These people not colonize us and they are helping us. No, that is a lie. maybe helping us came out as a by the way in the process of colonizing us. They came to colonize us when they are looking for market, raw materials, and others, wealth, but not to come and help us to build for us schools. Even this curriculum, it was developed to get workers or slaves. There were no entrepreneurial skills like to help us to develop. I don't think we would be developed by now. All of these curriculums are developed to help the colonial masters to get laborers, or even to transmit or to expose their language, English, so that they can easily communicate with the Africans. So the rich Baganda, most of the Baganda joined these schools. Those were the wealthy people, the Semeika Congolese. They were like improved in their intellect so that they can help the British to colonize, which they did perfectly well. That is 1894, Uganda was declared a protectorate, and the maps were drawn. That map you see, Uganda up to Bujumbura, passing through Lake Victoria, they were developed in those years for the purpose of easy administration. Yes, some people think Uganda was there. No, it is the British who brought Uganda. And why they call it Uganda? Because they admired Buganda so much, and they could not pronounce the B, Buganda. They couldn't pronounce the B. So for them, they thought the whole of this from Arua to Karamoja, we can just expand Buganda. But pronounce B because of their accent, they said Uganda. So Uganda is apparently an extension of Uganda kingdom. Even other kingdoms, they are good, very organized, but Uganda was exceptional. So even the Uganda chiefs, they even trained staff, they became administrators in other regions. Actually, the Uganda helped the British very well to colonize the rest of Uganda. At first, some of them were just greedy to be paid, and they didn't even understand what colonialism is. That's why in 1962, the Baganda, the Benichiwanukas, were the first people to detest the colonial rule, because it did not live according to their expectations. Maybe they thought these people are just preaching, they want us to be in heaven, they want us to enjoy peace. Kumbe, the British also had their own intentions, which they couldn't tell you there and then. So what did they do? They built the Uganda Railway from the coast of East Africa to come up to Uganda. I think you know the Uganda Railway. We shall not go into those details, but at least we shall get the basics. You can go to YouTube, you can even go to Google and put in, search the colonial period of Uganda. Then they'll give you history more than what I'm even giving you here. Let this be a highlight, but you can do it better than what I'm giving you here. So in the economic side of Uganda, they introduced cash crops. We didn't have coffee, cotton, and tea. Of course, all of these crops were embraced at a very high speed by the Baganda. People were in the central region, because even the administrative structure of the British had its headquarters in the central region. So that's why up to now, people who are in other regions of Uganda, they didn't embrace coffee so much. Even up to now, coffee is mostly in Uganda. So this defines the reason why the Baganda became richer than other tribes. So the missionaries, I've told you the missionaries visited Uganda in 1990, beginning 1990. That's when we see missionaries. They began to preach. Kumbe, they want to colonize even in the spiritual part of you. I'm not saying preaching is bad or the religion is bad. There are also advantages of being a religious person, very many. But the intention of preaching to make you obedient, to obey their rule, and become a good laborer. Though what they preached was good, but they had to twist it to be according to their objective. That is the time when we had slave trade at its peak. Western Africa, East Africa, and whatever. The slaves were captured by their kings and even chiefs and sold to the British, the Portuguese, to the Arabs, to go and work in the plantations in America, because America had just been discovered as a new continent. So they needed workers to go and cut down those forests to produce the sugar. Now, at this time of 1890, the missionaries did a great work to stop slave trade and slavery. The way they preached, though maybe they didn't intend, and you may find the missionaries intended good, but the colonists intended to colonize us. Yes, because of their reasons, which I've told you before. So I'm somehow sick, but I have to try my best. So we begin to see churches in Uganda, mostly Buganda. We begin to see churches organized into structures, bishop, particular, whatever. At the first time, they preach when they are teaching the Ugandans how to read and write. So the schools began in the church. That's why the Catholic Church, they say, you are going to school when you are going to church. Hello? So these people who began were not kids, were adults. Kids were not going to school, but adults. And education was free because of them, they had only objectives. So those people who went to the missionary schools, the first people became administrators and very wealthy because they associated with the white man. The civilization of a white man was so advanced compared to the African civilization. That's when items like the guns, like the mirrors, clothes were introduced in this process by these people, the missionaries. Hallelujah. Yes, do you have any question? Can I proceed? I see a few people. So Buganda was highly organized, as I've told you. Buganda was an enemy to Bunyoro. Why? Because of its expansion activities. Buganda wanted to expand. Remember, if you were here last time, Bunyoro was big. Actually, at first, Bunyoro was taking almost all of East Africa. The Bachwez dynasty, the Bachwez Empire. So when the Bachwez Empire collapsed, Buganda developed and was almost swallowing Bunyoro. That is the time when King Kabalega came up, who was very strong, and came up and began to make Buganda to retreat. So when the Buganda kingdom was retreating in fear of King Kabalega, this is when the white man came in. So the Buganda thought that since the white man has come in, this white man is going to help us defeat Bunyoro. And actually, they benefited. Bunyoro was defeated, Kabalega was subdued and even exiled. And the Buganda were paid Bugangaizi and Buyaga counties. You know them. They are in Kabale. Is it Kakumiro? Those counties are in Bunyoro, but they belong to the chiefs of Uganda as a thank you for helping them to subdue Bunyoro and Kabalega in particular. Yes. Any question? Any comment? Yes, there was regional imbalance because of the Europeans. Of course, the British were paying those who embraced them. They encountered resistance, especially from Bunyoro. But from Buganda, there was no resistance. Why? Because they welcomed them to give them guns and even to help them overcome Bunyoro. There was no resistance, apart from later from King Mwanga, after realizing that the regions were just confusing him, he banned the missionaries. Some missionaries were killed, like one in Busoga. Is it Huntington? Bishop Huntington was killed. Why? The people were confused. You know, remember Buganda, the King Mwanga was already confused. He had already got tired of the religions. He wanted to remain with his nature or his culture. So the Basoga were waiting for instructions from the king of Uganda, who told them, Oyomumute, meaning release him. But the Basoga, you know how they speak? They thought he said, Mumute, kill him. So they killed him, but not because of resistance. So then the Uganda was scrambled, and the first director was Captain Lugati. The next episode, we shall look at that. Thank you so much for listening. Don't end with my lecture. please go to YouTube and get better lectures for this topic. Thank you so much for listening. May God bless you mightily. Wait for next episode. Next episode at 6. Yes, next episode at 6 exactly, we shall come back to add on that colonization of Africa.